Hi everyone, this is Dan, and this is Pandemic, written by Richard C. Meyer, art by Renzo Rodriguez, coloring by Michael G., and lettering by Eric Weathers. So got it in a Gemini mailer, pretty much standard at this point, so anything new would be different. I will say this, I was a little surprised by this Gemini mailer, mainly because of the interior of what I was going to find, but otherwise no complaints in terms of quality of the packaging. Thank God it wasn't a Gemini mailer because my postal service kind of beat the holy hell out of this package. Normally they don't really do it all this much, but in this case they kind of beat on this one. Anyhow, here it is. So this book, I actually emailed Richard C. Meyer about this. This book is shrink wrapped on both sides. And I'm okay with it. I will say I kind of, having looked at this now, I definitely prefer bag and board. I understand from a business perspective why he did the shrink wrapping, because you can automate it. You don't have to pay anybody to put it in a board in a bag. But I will say for an Indiegogo campaign and for quality, I prefer the board and bag. I'm not a big fan of the shrink wrap. Anyhow, this is it. It is the first floppy I've ever received from Splato Comics, Richard C. Meyer's company. It's okay. I'll say that much. Anyhow, let's get into this book right here. So the background of this book is this year, 2020, COVID-19 pandemic and all. And our main protagonist is a young lady by the name of Clarissa. And oh, by the way, if you don't want spoilers, just stop. Here we go. Anyway, the main protagonist, Clarissa, she's decided to take advantage of the pandemic and steal a bunch of money and property from her company. By the way, you don't actually know that this is a company she works for. It's inferred later, and I'll explain the issues with this book and really Richard C. Meyer's writing later on. Anyhow, she gets caught into a bunch of mess. She eavesdrops on a bunch of powerful executives. They're going to take advantage of this pandemic to make a bunch of money. She gets captured by security, escapes from the security with a little bit of help. A bunch of action scenes of her running through New York, escaping soldiers and cops and a whole bunch of other people. Why the cops and the soldiers are after her, I don't know. Maybe they're all in their pockets. There's actually quite a few funny scenes, her and some female troopers, and then also some toilet paper jokes. A lot of stuff that is very COVID-19 specific and is definitely only going to make sense to people in 2020. I don't know necessarily if this book is going to hold up in the long run. Anyhow, she runs around, she gets captured again, and then she wakes up in some hipster hotel in Mexico to what looks like is joining the hipster Illuminati. I'm not really sure, but that's the book in a nutshell. So let's get to the good stuff. First off, the good stuff. The art by Renzo Rodriguez is fantastic. Nothing bad to say about Renzo's art. He draws women, really well. They're beautiful and hot. Men are masculine. The perspective and layouts is fantastic. Nothing bad to say about any of his art. Colors by Michael G. are also really good too. I like how Michael G. doesn't over-render in the colors. It's really nice. It's like not necessarily flat, but a lot flatter than you've normally seen in other books. And I actually really like it because you get to really enjoy Renzo Rodriguez's line art a lot better that way. Also, lettering by Eric Weathers is solid. The letter of Comicsgate never really gets in the way, which is what a letter should do. And he does a good job of getting the balloons in good spots. If you like high action, suspense, chase scenes and stuff like that, you might really like Pandemic because a lot of action in this book. Now let's get to the cons, and here's where I have to kind of pan this book and be honest, because I've mentioned this so many times on my channel, and just because it's Richard C. Myers doesn't make an exception. This book is ridiculously short. It's 22 pages, so about the length of an Allegiance Arts comic book. But here's the problem. This was $15. Allegiance Arts book is like $5. So you get the length of an Allegiance Arts comic book for 3 times the price. To make matters worse, this is where the real weakness of this book's come out. This is not Richard C. Meyer's best writing. It is really, I would say, very thin. It's dialogue driven, very heavily dialogue driven, but there's not a lot of dialogue. It's really short and terse, And he's kind of known to do this, have really short and terse dialogue. But this is a book that really needs, and I sound like a broken record, and I say this every single time, this is a book that needs third-person narration and captions, and it needs a few thought bubbles here and there to kind of give you a clue of what the hell's going on. It's really hard to get into this book because it just kind of feels like a shitload of action going in 19 different directions. You really don't know what's going on, and in the case of like books like Iron Sights, he kind of gets away with that. Because it's kind of hilarious, and the nature of the book is just people getting whacked and crazy amounts of grindhouse violence. This book right here, especially being current events, can I understand a lot of concepts because I'm living through it this year? Yeah, I guess. Would the book be infinitely better if he adds a little bit of narration and explanation of what's going on? Oh, hell yeah. And we're getting to a point now with Richard Meyer's writing where this is starting to become a big problem now. He's, at least in my opinion, he makes some improvements here and there, but this is a step back in my view. If he's gonna do books like that, I think he should hire an editor, or maybe hire a different writer at that point. There's a lack. The narrative is very weak. You don't really know what's going on, and then the worst part is, and I have asked this question to myself, like after reading this book twice, and it's basically, why do I care about Clarissa? Her actions as a protagonist are not heroic, and her personality is not very likable. So why do I like her, right? I supposedly am supposed to care and be worried for her as she runs away from these, Illuminati level executives, but I kind of maybe I'm wrong, but I kind of feel on the side, or at least the way the writing is done and executed, I kind of yeah, she was freaking stealing shit. She should get thrown in fucking jail. Why do I feel like I should be sympathetic to this character? Maybe that's just me. Anyhow. Oh, and one last thing that I kind of forgot to mention here. This book has some print issues, and let me show you right here. So hey everyone, real super quick here. I just wanted to show you one thing for the video. I'm going to get back to the review in a little bit. By the way, coming up, we have Naruto, some Turtles, and gonna hit the New Mutants all over again, mainly the first issue of this trade paperback. But I gotta show you this because this is kind of bugging me, and not trying to be mean to you, Boi Zack here, but this has to be pointed out. So this is Pandemic. I'm not going to show a lot of the pages because I don't want to spoil the book. But you can kind of see it here on page 1. It gets really obvious right here on page 2. So what you're seeing here is that where the saddle stitch is occurring is offset from where the page is supposed to be. I do notice this once in a while with books that are full bleed, and this is a full bleed book. What I mean by full bleed is that if you can take a look right here, basically the blacks go all the way to the edge, and the artwork goes all the way to the edge, as opposed to, let me bust out like New Mutants here. Like New Mutants, this is not full bleed. You can see here there are gutters. I guess that's what they're called. Yeah, gutters, right? And if I go over to the backside, because the saddle stitch book basically takes the 2 pages, right, and then stitches down the middle, you can see how the artwork basically breaks across right here. So then when I go back over here, the other side, you can kind of see how it cuts across right here. You see how there's a bar right there? Then if I go back to here, you can see where it's coming from. It's coming from that page right here that it cuts across. So unfortunately the printer here kind of goofed it. So again, I don't know what the root cause of these print issues is. It might just be that I just got at the end of the roll or something of some kind. I don't know. And again, I'm not trying to blame anything, but the reality is this book has some print issues right here with the art breaking. What the root cause is, I don't know, but that's just how my book ended up. Overall, not a recommend. Renzo's art is fantastic, and the rest of the team does a solid job, but short page count, high cost, honestly, very thin writing, not enough story, basically. Just not enough story for the price that you get here. Do not recommend it. If it does get repackaged, like in a trade paperback or with Do As You're Told or something like that for a cheaper price, And I would say like Do As You're Told and Pandemic repackaged together, would barely be worth like $10 in my opinion. Because both of these, I'm assuming Do As You're Told is going to be another 22-page book. So if it's another 22-page book, then why would I want to spend $15 on it? It should be $5 at the same level of Allegiance. It really should be like $3 or $2 to be competitive with the rest of the mainstream. Yeah, man, this ain't it. This is not it. Do you like Allegiance arts? Do you want to spend 3 times as much as an Allegiance arts book for less story? There you go. That's your answer on whether or not you should pick up Pandemic. So I've been working a lot of sequential art lately, and sequential art is, man, I can see why people, they get into it and then they move away and they do covers and other things because it's a lot of work. I actually really like the first panel, at least for me. I felt like I got pretty decent first person, or I should say single point perspective. The third panel really sucks though. I really don't like that, and I wanted to pencil it again, but I was like, I don't have time. I'll just eat it and then take the beatings later. Overall, this whole thing's not terrible, but got to learn to work on figures and just work on 2-point perspective and shading more. Not a bad piece. Ultimately, it's a lot of art because it's sequential art. Not super happy with this effort. Anyhow, that's the video. Let me know what you think. If you like this video, please hit the thumbs up. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed. Hit the bell for notifications. If you got any comments on Pandemic by Richard C. Myers, leave it down below. And I will see you next time.